Next Book, where teachers come to discover their next great classroom read. Brought to you by Plains Literacy Council, a division of the Alabama Literacy Association.
Welcome to the first episode of Next Book for 2022. Happy New Year, Kristen.
Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be back.
Yes, I read so many books over the break.
Me too.
And so one of my favorite things about that holiday break that we get as teachers is that the local places start posting their challenges for the new year, their reading challenges.
Yes, we are finishing challenges from 2021, starting new challenges for 2022, coming up with those new reading goals that we have for ourselves. And, in our classrooms, we're talking to our students about the goals that they might have for themselves. And so, I don't know, the beginning of the year is just so much fun because we're finishing and we're starting. So it's been a great start to 2022 so far.
Absolutely. And Kristen, I think you participated in one of the yearly challenges for 2021.
I did. It was so exciting. So last year at the beginning of the year, one of my goals was to just read more. And I got really invested in my Goodreads account because I was like, I want to keep up with this and I want to share what I've been reading. And so that was the first step was I got going on Goodreads. And then Auburn Oil booksellers in Auburn here, they do a book challenge every year. And I decided to take part in it. And so each month they had a theme or a genre for a book to read. So you got to pick the book. It just had to be within the genre or the theme. And I did it. I did it all 12 months, and they are having a party for everybody that finished. And so that's going to be in February, and I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome. Can you tell us what was your favorite book that you read for the challenge?
Oh gosh.
Putting you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, putting me on the spot. All right. So it was really great. I will say this. It was really great because it pushed me to read books that I would not have read just on my own. So for example, I'm looking back. So that in August, the theme was a book that's a retelling of a myth. And so I thought to myself, this isn't something I would normally pick up, but I read, and we've talked about this already. This was the month that I read A Song of Achilles because it's a classic retelling of a myth. And so it was perfect. It worked out great. It wasn't something that I would have normally picked up, but because of the challenge, I read it and I really, really, really enjoyed it. I would say that the one that I had the toughest time with in January, the challenge was a book by a person who is famous for something other than writing. And I took it upon myself to read Obama's book. Now, I listened to it, but it was 36 hours long.
Oh, wow.
Definitely wouldn't have done that without the challenge. So, yeah, it pushed me, and I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have some exciting local challenges rolling out for 2022. Auburn Oil is again doing their challenge. This is the third year in a row for Auburn Oil, so that's pretty exciting.
Yes.
And January's challenge is a book everyone but you seems to have read. We're recording this in the last week of January, so I'll tell you I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna succeed. I'm reading a book by Jeff Zettner. I maybe haven't started it yet.
You're doing it.
Yeah. So I decided Jeff Zettner, his name just keeps popping up in my circles as a middle grade teacher. And so I was like, all right, I need to read one of his books. So that's what I will be going for that challenge.
Can you tell me which one?
It's Raimi. I can't think of the whole title. Raimi
and Delilah's Midnight Matinee.
That's the one.
Yes, hands down, my favorite.
I debated between that and The Serpent King because I've been told about The Serpent King for several years, but I thought I'd start with that one since I knew you liked that one so much.
Yes, I'm so excited to hear what you think about it. It is, oh my gosh, I can't help but smile when I think about that book. It's so good.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah, Jeff Zettner, Fangirl Club. Him and Trevor Noah, we can talk about him every time. So I finished my January challenge last week actually. thanks to Sora. You know, we've talked about Sora on our podcast before, and all of the great options that are on there. So I read the ebook version of Such a Fun Age, and I'm drawing a blank on the author's name at the moment. But it is a book that, well, Auburn Oil actually put it on their suggested list. So like the other great thing about Auburn Oil is that each month, not only do they give you they tell you what the challenge is or what you're supposed to be reading, they offer up like a list of like 25 books as ideas. And so that's normally my go-to first. So when they post the challenge, they post their recommended list, and I'll go and I'll read the list and I'll see if there's something on there that strikes my fancy. And Such a Fun Age has been on my list, my TBR list, for a while now. I read it in a day and a half. It was such a good book. I would say it is more of a, like, I think high school, but more of like a young adult book, because the main characters are like in their late 20s. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I liked it. So I'm glad I'm doing the challenge again.
Well, and I'm looking forward to see what they share for February, a book you can read in one sitting.
Yes.
I'll see what they suggest. Have they? Okay, so I'll have to look at that. I'm probably going to go for a verse novel. I love a good verse novel.
Yes, a verse novel. That is such a good idea.
I guess it depends on how long my sitting can be.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of a verse novel. You know what? I think I'm going to do that. I've had Kwame Alexander on my list. A couple of his books have been on my to be read list, like Solo. I've never read Solo.
It's so good.
I haven't read it. It's always on my shelf. I'm like looking at it right now. I think that might be what I read. I don't know.
It's excellent. I highly recommend him.
Okay. All right. Well, I've already got it figured out. Perfect.
And so
Auburn Oil is not the only one. You know, we talked a little bit about Auburn Oil, but the exciting thing is that it sounds, and I might be wrong, maybe it's just like the circle that I'm in. It sounds like reading is really popular right now.
It does sound like reading's really popular. And I don't know if these other organizations are inspired by Auburn Oil or not, but I love so many local places doing challenges. We have 3 that Kristen and I are aware of. And so the next one, we'll go ahead and go to the bookstore, Well Read. It's a fairly new business in Auburn. It's been around for a while, but I think the pandemic makes everything still, like, I think they're still fairly new. And they posted a reading challenge, and I love the hashtag Stay Well Read 2022. You can't beat that. That's great. And so their challenge is a little bit different. If you want to fully participate, they ask that you come and buy a book from them, and you sign like a list in the store. While you're there, I highly recommend the cinnamon rolls, and all of their coffee is really good. The atmosphere there is magical. If you haven't been, I make sure I stop at both Auburn Oil and Well Read at least once or twice a month, because these are just really great local businesses.
Yes.
January was an author you've never heard of. What'd you do for that? Have you done that one? Are you doing that one?
I'm going to try to do both of them. Yeah. I mean, I want to, like you said, I want to be involved and also patronize these local businesses. So yeah, no, I definitely want to try it out. An author I've never heard of. Well, it's hard to say off the top of my head because I've never heard of them. So
obviously. So I had a lot of fun going to Auburn Oil with this one. I decided, I'm a teacher. I like to read books that my kids are going to read. I read the adult book every now and then too, but we like to know what our students want. So I went to the YA section and I just started looking, and there was a stunning cover. It's called The Downstairs Girl, and it was by an author named Stacey Lee, who I had not previously heard of. And so I was like, all right, this is perfect. I grabbed it. And that one I have finished, and it was just a beautiful story. It's about a Chinese girl living in Atlanta. I don't know why I said New York.
Oh, wow.
Atlanta
nice.
Yeah, and it's around, I want to say 1800s. I'm really bad, like numbers don't stick in my head. So a long time ago. Bicycles were just becoming popular as a mode of transportation, but it's very controversial. Like for women to ride bicycles, some people very, very much frowned upon that and things like that. So around that time period, and she's living in the basement of a house that doesn't know that she's there. and there's like a mystery involved. It was just really good. It was a difficult book to put down.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really interesting. And I love the idea, like, I feel like this is overused, but don't judge a book by its cover. This is that sounds like a great opportunity to totally judge a book by its cover.
Well, and their February, like they want you to go for that because the February challenge is that has a cover you love.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, that's awesome. And hey, Michelle and I are talking about these challenges, and we're going to talk about one more in just a second. We will definitely link and put images to the challenges in our Wakelet that goes with this episode so that you can see the challenges and that like what you need to do to complete the challenge. So we will definitely share that with this episode. All right. So yeah, so February, that's exciting. A cover that you love. Oh, that's really great. Okay, so there's one more challenge. So let's talk about that last challenge, Michelle.
The Opelika Public Library. I think everybody knows they're coming in strong. They just opened their new building not that long ago.
Beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, and Opelika Library, they have some great public programming in the first place. I got to participate in the Harry Potter celebration that was downtown. They were going to do it on Harry Potter's birthday and it got postponed, but it was a really neat event. Mm-hmm. I saw that they're doing caddy stacks in January. So if you don't follow the Auburn Public Library on social media, get on that because they're doing some really neat stuff. And one of them is they've jumped into the 2020 reading challenge. Read a book that matches the theme, take a picture of the book and post it. And participate. Everyone who completes the challenge will be entered in a drawing for a prize next January. I just think it's awesome. I'm really excited. So their January challenge was historical fiction.
Yes. And have you read any historical fiction this month?
So I love historical fiction. I think it's probably my favorite genre, which surprises any student that's been in my room because I also really like a book series called Harry Potter. And they're like, what do you mean your favorite genre is historical fiction? So I read...
What you can like multiple, it doesn't matter.
I try to tell them that. Reading is fun that way. I read the 6 Chelsea Walk series from Usborne Books. I have a small nephew, and Usborne Books is like a private company similar to like your like Mary Kay, Pampered Chef. Like they have consultants and you have parties and things like that. And so I got pulled in because of my nephew, who is precious, and I bought him lots of books that he adores from there. But they had some good middle grade stuff, so I got the 6 Chelsea Walk, and it's actually a 3-book series, and I decided I'm just going to go ahead and knock those out this month. And it's really neat. It's a series that's about people that lived at 6 Chelsea Walk, a house in London, in various times. So like the first one is like 1776. And then it jumps to like the 1850s. And then the next book is in the 1890s, I think. And then there's one that's pre-World War II, or as World War II is starting. And then the last one that I'm in the middle of is in the 70s. Wow. And it's neat because like at first the house is a school for girls in the first book. And the next book, it's a family home. It gets turned into an apartment later. And it's neat too because there's just stuff that kind of carries through in interesting ways. So it's been a really cool little series of books. I'm excited to share it with students.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I just put it on my to be read list. I'm really excited. And y'all had this as well at y'all's school. So in anticipation of Ruta Cepetis, and am I saying her last name right? Ruta.
Yes.
All right.
I think so.
We were lucky enough to have her come and speak to each of our schools here in Auburn City Schools. So she came to Sanford, she came to Auburn Junior High, and then she came to Auburn High School Thursday. So we're recording this in January, so it was January like the 20th when she came. So in preparation, I read Salt to the Sea, which is one of her. Have you read it? Oh my God.
Yes.
So when I think about historical fiction now, she's somebody who I'm going to definitely recommend to students and fellow teachers and adults. It was such a good, like an amazing story. And the best part was that what happens at the end, real, true story.
I mean, gut wrenching.
And
I always tell students it should come with a warning label.
should, but it was an event, like, how do more people not know about it? Like, that was the thing. That was my biggest takeaway. And when she spoke to our students, did she talk about that at all with y'all about the Yeah, it was really great. I enjoyed listening to her talk about it, because she is a Lithuanian American, and so she has those deep connections to the story, which just added a beautiful layer to it. But yeah, so she's an amazing historical fiction author. Salt of the Sea is not her only book. I think her most popular book is Between Shades of Grey.
It's also called Ashes in the Snow. There was a title change because Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
She's truly incredible. I always tell students, one, that like if you're going to read Salt to the Sea, you need to understand that there's a part that made one of my 7th graders many years ago slam the book closed. She was so upset that she couldn't speak for the next 30 minutes. Like, just couldn't talk. So it's truly gut-wrenching, but like Kristen said, like, it's a true story, it's history, we should know. And when I discovered her books, I pitched both Between Shades of Grey and Salt to the Sea as hidden history, because I think that's what it is. And I always tell students too, if you don't read the author's note in her books, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it's truly incredible and beautiful work that she does. I love her. Easy is so good. The Fountains of Silence was awesome.
Gosh, what is the name of her new book? It's literally coming out.
I Must Betray You.
Oh my gosh.
I did.
I am so excited. She gave us a preview.
She has a local bookstore in Nashville that she goes to sign things. So if you order through them, you can get some signed books of hers. And I totally went to their website and checked it out. And she is going to be doing like a couple of virtual tour dates for I Must Betray You. So if you want to hear her talk, check it out. I think it's Pernicious Books. I may be pronouncing that incorrectly.
I think it's Parnassus. And we can link that as well.
I can't wait to hear her talk more about I Must Betray You, because I am signed up for one of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about that. Yeah, she briefly at the very end of her talk with our students, gave a little blurb about it, and I immediately hooked. Like, I cannot wait. Yeah, it comes out in February, so that's really exciting. All right, well, man, goal of this episode. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, since we mentioned the February for the other challenges, February for Opelika has someone's name in the title. A friend loaned me the audiobook for Daisy Jones and the Six. It's not going to count for my February challenge because I'm going to be finished with it before February hits. And the Audible, I know you said you loved this book. Did you listen to the audio?
Yes, this was an audiobook pick for me, and it, to me, one of the best audiobook productions I have listened to in a long time.
Easily. My friend loaned it to me. He had it on CDs, and so I can only listen to my car. So I find myself like taking detours to make things take longer because I want to hear the book. So that would be a great one recommended. And I was at Auburn Oil, and I saw a note on a book that said local Auburn author, and I guess it's one of the new creative writing professors at the university has some books there, and it's called Oksana Behave. And so I think that's going to be my pick for February, but I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and so our goal for this episode, as you can tell, it's just Michelle and I talking about some plans that we have this year, some goals that we have, and then these challenges that we have taking place in where we are. Now, if you are a listener and you are not here in this area, we would encourage you to check out your local bookstores, your local library, to see if there are challenges happening. And if you miss a month, like if you miss January, not the end of the world, you can pick up in February. But it's just a great way to branch out and try something new. And for me too, I will say it almost was like a bit of accountability. Like last year, it held me accountable to keep reading. And sometimes we need that. Like sometimes, a lot of the times, life just is overwhelming. We've got a lot going on. And so it's really nice to have something like this reading challenge, or like any reading challenge or reading goal, to kind of bring us back to, okay, let's do this one thing. So I found it really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of fun.
And I think it's really neat, especially with the variety that's available this year. If your local bookstores, local libraries don't have something like, please follow the ones we've mentioned. You can participate from afar, even if you don't choose to officially participate.
Yeah.
I love it because it pushes me outside of my normal stuff. It's hard to get in a reading rut when you have these creative little challenges with such random ways to find a book. Find a book with someone's name in the title. That opens up doors in a way that I just don't think about reading that way. And it's interesting to have that challenge and like, hey, see if I can do this. And it's motivating in a different kind of way.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And then, to kind of tie it into the classroom as well, I could see in a classroom having my own reading challenge with students, like each month, like coming up with and this could be something you start at the beginning of the year. It doesn't have to be in January. It could be whenever, but coming up with, if you have independent reading activities with your students, using this idea of a reading challenge to kind of guide the reading. Like, to me, I feel like that's such a fun and exciting idea. And then that could be where you start your book talks with students. So like for that month.
I think that's something I'm going to have to do next year, Kristen. I love that idea.
Isn't that a great idea? Like,
how cool interesting. Yeah. And I think things like the 40 book challenge are really awesome too. And I know that really works for students, but I love the idea of like, hey, just one book a month that fits this theme. Because sometimes there's readers that one book a month sounds a lot more reasonable than 40 books this year. And that, one book a month would be a big deal for some students too. So that's a neat way to think about it.
Yeah. So in your classroom, great idea. I will also say, from a personal life perspective, outside of me just doing the challenge, this is also a great, if you are interested in starting a book club with fellow adults, friends, colleagues, people outside of the school, I definitely would say, why don't you use a book challenge as a way to guide your book club? So for example, I am starting a book club with friends, and we are using the challenge as our guide. So we're not all reading the same book. We're all going to just do the challenge. And then when we meet each month, we're going to talk about the book that we read the previous month, and then kind of talk through some ideas for the challenge for that month. And so it's just a fun way to also center a book club. So there's a lot of ideas there.
Absolutely. Well, I hope our conversations helped you guys know what your next book is going to be. I think we both have ours planned out.
Yes. Okay. So let's say, let's make it clear. Michelle, what is the next book you're about to read?
My next book is Rain and Delilah's Midnight something.
Rain and Delilah's Midnight Matinee.
That's what I needed. Yes. That's my next book.
Yes. Okay, my next book, and I've got to pull it up because I can't remember off the top of my head. And this book was recommended to me by a coworker. So have you read The Tattooist of Auschwitz?
Yes.
Okay, I read it last year.
I'm so excited for you.
Well, I read it last year, so I've read it already. And I loved it, but I did not know that there was a companion book. And so I had a coworker who just finished it, and she very casually was like, hey, have you read The Tattooist of Auschwitz? And I was like, yes, I loved it. It was so good. Actually listened to it. It was a great audiobook. It was a great audiobook. So if you're looking for audiobooks, it was really great. So she said, oh my gosh, if you liked it, you need to read Silka's Journey. Silka was one of the characters in The Tattooist of Auschwitz. And so I have it checked out from the library right now.
That audiobook is also really good.
It is? Okay, well, I have it checked out from the library right now. Excited. I'm going to start listening to it probably on Monday, because I've got a couple other books that I'm finishing up right now. So Silka's Journey by Heather Morris. So excited. I can't wait to listen to this one. So
That's awesome. And if you're listening, we're going to give one final plug. We are doing a writing workshop at the end of February. It's going to be fantastic. We've got 3 incredible authors coming in, and we are very excited. If you sign up, we're also going to give you copies of all of those authors' books. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's the 3rd annual Plains Winter Writing Workshop. It's a mouthful, but it is so much fun. The last 2 that we've had, I don't know, Michelle will say the same thing. You leave with a stack of books. You leave with some amazing ideas for your classroom, and it's just a great morning spent with fellow teachers. And so it's a really great experience, and best part, it's free. So like,
yeah, it's just so refreshing to be around people in February, which is a hard month as a teacher. Like, just it feels like break's never going to get here. It feels like the kids are nuts. And February is just a great time, like, to give yourself that Saturday morning, come get refreshed. We'll have, some snacks and whatnot, and some authors. And we are doing it this year where you just get to hear from the author. So in past years, we've had it where teachers can present, and we've had some breakout sessions and stuff. But this year we decided to just tone things down a little bit. And so you're going to get three sessions with some awesome authors, and it's just going to be a great day.
It is. It's going to be a great day. And I would also say too, the great thing about the lineup for this year is it's diverse in the sense that we have an author who's going to talk about poetry. We have an author who's going to focus on nonfiction writing, and specifically with STEAM courses. And then we have a teacher or an author who's about historical fiction writing. So there's a range of writing there. So it's really exciting. And did we mention it's free? We did. It's free.
It is free. It's free, and you get books.
Yeah.
And you can get those books signed, and it's free.
Yeah. And so
we hope to see some listeners there.
Yes, and we're going to have all the information once again attached to the Wakelet that comes with today's episode. So take a minute and just look through all of that for everything you could possibly need in this episode, and just in general with the Plains Literacy Council.
All right. Well, it's been great chatting as always, Kristen.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I know we're both, we're busy. Everybody's busy. We're so busy. Like
everybody is.
I mean, Michelle, we're talking during your planning period. Like, that's some dedication.
That's where we're at. It's a busy school year.
It's a busy school year. Yeah. So, all right, guys, it was great talking, and we'll see you next month. All right, so like we mentioned throughout the episode, everything that we've talked about, all of the books that we mentioned today, all of our suggestions can all be found on our website and through the Wakelet that we share with you guys. Michelle and I would love to hear what you are reading now and what you're reading next. So leave us a comment and let us know what you're reading, and let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about. See y'all later.